Hey guys, Jordan here, and I just finished up an interview with Joshua Doak, a real estate photographer out of Florida. And a couple things I got out of this interview was one, that he full-time real estate photographer right out of high school. And number two is he shared some great tips in his process for acquiring new customers as he's going through the process of building his real estate photography business. This is an awesome interview. I hope you guys get a lot of value, so enjoy the interview. Hey guys, Jordan here with Real Estate Photography Hub, and on today's interview, I'm interviewing Joshua Doak out of Navarre, Florida. Did I say that right, Josh?
It's Navarre.
Navarre, Florida.
So
there we go. See, I was so close. And what's interesting about Josh is he's only 18 years old, and he is a real estate photographer straight out of high school, which is inspirational, and actually does a lot of other things as well. So we're going to get the opportunity to know him a little bit better on today's interview. So talk to us a little bit about when you got into, or actually short answers on these ones. When did you get into real estate photography?
I got into it last year, June of last year.
All right, so less than a year. Are you currently part-time or full-time?
I'm full-time photography, and yeah, so full-time in real estate and everything else.
All right, so you mentioned you're in your first year. So what do you project that you're going to be making this year in real estate?
So I'm looking at around 10,000 for my first year, which I'm super excited about. I mean, my goal when I started out was 1K, so I'm ecstatic that it's got to this point for sure.
There we go, growing it. And how long did it take you to transition into full time?
So really when I started out, I started doing DoorDash, and that was the only other thing I was really doing fresh out of high school. I wasn't really doing anything else, helping my dad here and there with his construction. So I mean, the first 6 months was really just startup, and then I only really DoorDash for 6 months in starting my business. So yeah.
So you don't do that anymore, and you focus on the media side of things now?
Yeah, I'm fully invested into this. Do different things here and there, but mostly just stick to the business side of it.
Exactly. And I can kind of sympathize with that, because obviously when anybody's starting a business, you kind of bridge that money gap, right? You're not going to have a million customers overnight. So you got to figure out a way to, survive and be able to have, buy yourself time so you don't have to run back into some 9-to-5 job, right? So doing what you did, DoorDash. But anyways, do you recommend somebody doing that type of transition into full time, or do you recommend somebody just jump straight in?
Definitely, if you can. I mean, my thing is always, don't keep everything in one. Don't just focus on one thing, because if you do that and then something happens with that, then you're left there with nothing. So keeping yourself, well versed into different things is a good thing. But yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have the opportunity to do what you love or something creative full time, then definitely.
Yeah. So talk to us about a little bit more in depth of a question. Like, how did you say, "Oh, I'm going to do real estate photography," or what interested you about real estate photography specifically?
So I was super like business, kind of business minded my senior year. I knew that I needed to set myself up for the future. So I was looking into different things, and I got into affiliate marketing and doing that, but not having an income because I was still in football. So I didn't have any time to really get a job or anything like that. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any startup to actually start the, marketing. I learned a lot, and I did start certain stuff, but it didn't go anywhere. So a video popped up on TikTok of, some guy making money. This algorithm learns they knew that I was business minded. So, and he was showing how he makes, 30,000 a month off of his real estate photography business. And I was like, didn't really think much to it, but his videos were like always popping up. And then I was doing video editing on Fiverr, just because I used to do YouTube and I knew how to edit. So I was like, hey, that's a way to make money. And then my sister had a wedding, and I was like, oh, here's some good editing material. I'll bring her camera and I'll shoot it. And then I shot a wedding, and I was like, I wonder if I could, like, this is really fun. I wonder if I could make money off of, a camera. Like, maybe this is a good path for me. And then more of those videos kept popping up, and I was like, seems easy enough, seems like a, you know, good idea. I'll give it a try. And yeah.
Awesome. So what was that transition period? So you have the idea, all right.
Mhm.
You saw the videos on TikTok and then you're like, so what was your process then? Let me figure out how to do it, or how did you get your first clients? Like what was,
Well,
how did that
so
happen?
I also got in a lot into just real estate in general, just learning about it, learning how to sell. There's this wholesaling real estate, which is like deals with contracts and different stuff like that. So I learned about cold calling and different stuff like that. And I just had the idea to start cold calling realtors off of Zillow
Mm.
that I see don't have good photos or have very few photos or anything like that. So it was probably honestly within the month I was making cold calls to realtors trying to get a video or photo or anything like that.
Yeah. So you realized, obviously, at the beginning, I want to be a real estate photographer. Maybe
Mhm.
you learn the tactics, but then your number one problem when you're starting a business is people don't know who you are or what you do, right? So what do?
Yeah.
You pick up the phone and you start making contacts and building relationships. So how many phone calls did it take you to for somebody to actually give you a shot?
Well, I knew it was good from the start because everybody gave me the time of day. I don't know if it's, just the area that I live in, that like Southern hospitality, but like everyone is like super nice. So even if, they were like, I have photographers lined up, but I'll still take your contact, I still might use you. So that gave me a lot of motivation to keep going. Like if I find the right one, it was probably like I think my second week of doing it, I was making lists of 30 and then calling them like 10 at a time. So it was probably like 60 calls somewhere around there before I got my first one. And then I kind of got the hang of it and started to pick up.
Yeah. And so to get to that 60, I think most people probably quit on the 59th call. They get all frustrated and like,
Mhm.
oh man, so much rejection. So how were you able to stick with it, without getting because I know there's people out there that are like, oh, this doesn't work. But
Yeah.
you know,
Um, Honestly, I think it was just trusting myself that, if I kept going, that something would show through, that, if I stayed persistent enough, that they're showing interest. So I know if I say the right things, if I, call them the right way, if I, present the right things to them, if my pricing is correct, then I'm eventually going to get that call. And there's been so many calls where I've been like, because it's nerve wracking. I mean, I was, 18, just like picking up a phone, calling a realtor, like, hey, do you want to
right.
pay me money? Like, it's kind of nerve wracking, but I've had so many calls where I've been like, ah, should I call them? I don't know. Maybe the photos look good enough. They might, I contemplate that for a second, and so many of those have turned into like my biggest opportunities in it. So I've always learned from the start to always call. It never hurts to call them. So
So is
yeah,
that an activity that you still do currently, or is that something you did when you started and you got a
yeah,
few customers? Is that part of your weekly or monthly business
yeah.
activities?
I mean, it really depends on like sometimes I'll have, more reoccurring, more repeats coming in to where I don't really need to do it, or I'm doing other stuff to where like I don't need more customers coming in right now. But yeah, I mean, I just made some yesterday actually, and got a couple good leads off of it. So I only called like 6 people. I've gotten it down a little bit better where I can identify, a listing to tell, okay, they think they know what they're doing when they're taking their own photos. So they're probably going to have that kind of wall put up of like, I take my own photos, I'm good. So I know how to identify now.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like you're just at a high school, and so you're not like you're not haven't been influenced by a bunch of like corporate America or have a ton of experience, right? Because you're super young. Like, what is your process, and how do you like manage all your leads and your business? Because it seems like you got a lot of things figured out very early on.
Yeah, I mean, I try. That's the kind of scary part, and was the scariest part for a while was I didn't have any mentors or anything going into it, so I didn't have anything to model myself off of. I always use this analogy with my girlfriend, like it feels like everybody else who's going, they're going to get a job or something like that. They have a little bit of a path lit up for them of what to do next, what's coming next, how they can build off of that. But for me, it's like I'm just looking into darkness and walking forward. Hopefully, I'm doing the right thing. And so far, I mean, spreadsheets, docs, keeping
Right,
track
right,
of
right.
everything, writing everything down. Uh, that's been it for me,
Yeah. So what are some of your longer term goals, right? So you're pretty fresh into it, and you got your feet wet, right? You know what it entails
Yep.
and how to do certain things. Like what are what are you planning for over the next couple years?
Yeah. So I kind of, I had a goal of where I wanted to be in the future, what I wanted to do. And then I worked my way backwards from that of how I can get there. And I want to travel. That thing that you said about like corporate America and everything like that. I've seen that from a young age, and I want to avoid it as much as possible. I just want to live. I think the time that we have on this earth, or that earth has in general, is short. So it's good to live it and not spend all your time worrying about making money. So we're trying to get enough to get a school bus, and drive it around America, travel around, and we'll hopefully find a little spot that we like there. So for my photography and everything like that, what I plan to do is build it up here for however many years, and keep building it, keep scaling it. And I live in a super small town. There's no type of like photography studio or any like established business that does high end photo and video or anything along the lines of that. So I'd love to scale it to the point where I can partially leave it and run it from the road and have a full, real estate photography where we're, doing the full production, everything. Uh I see it going big. I have big intentions for it. So
So how, you know, I'm just so what it seems like you figured out a lot of things being so young, because a lot of people how did you figure out like making money isn't necessarily going to make me happy? You try to figure out like what are those things that are going to make you happy in life? Because I think what happens is people like, oh, I need money to survive. I go get a job, then they get a paycheck, then they spend all their paycheck. Now they're living paycheck to paycheck, and then they get stuck in a job. And I can kind of sympathize, because I was that. I was making good
mhm.
money, corporate America. My wife didn't work. I had kids, and then it's you only have so many options, right? But if you can
Yeah,
figure those things, the things that are going to make you happy long term, in life, which I can tell you right now that the best things in life aren't things that you can buy at all. It's those
yeah.
experiences and those things. So, anyways, I'm just curious, like, what did you read a book, or was there something that somebody gave you some advice, like don't go chasing a bunch of
Um,
dollar bills, Rolexes and stuff?
yeah, no, I've had I mean, a journey for sure. I mean, so I was originally homeschooled when I was up until high school.
Mm.
My parents homeschooled me because they're very forward thinking in the way that the school system kind of creates molds of children. And when I went to high school, started going to high school my sophomore year. I do not I did not learn the way that, other kids learn whatsoever. So it was good that they kept me out. So that's part of it, is definitely what they instilled in me, what they kind of withheld from me a little bit, teaching me the right things. I had, it's like 2 years ago now, a big spiritual awakening
Mm.
in just everything that I am. I was overweight, not like, I wouldn't say fat, but I was out of shape. I didn't like the way that I looked, and I always tried to change it. And I had just this a couple of experiences that changed. I mean, opened me up to reality and kind of like that. My friend who I just shot a screenplay with, kind of opened me up to that. He put me onto this audiobook. It's called "Did I Ever Even Wake Up" by Maud's son, and it talks about kind of manifestation and prayer and everything like that. And um, I started to feel this change in me, and he told me his experience with that. And after that, I said I understood. Like, that was the best way that I could describe it, was just that I have a better understanding now.
Yeah.
I see what this world is. I know what's in it, and I think I know how I can, you know, uh, make the best out of it.
Yeah. Well, super impressed, to be able to have that mindset so early on. I think it's going to set you up for long-term success. And it sounds like, you really have a plan, and you have those, those activities that you need to do to be successful as a real estate photographer. And you also
Mm-hmm.
realize those things that, you know, uh, that are going to create success, and those things that you need to um, focus on. But let's talk a little bit about the struggles um, being in your first year, because that is, that's a tough thing for
Mm-hmm.
especially somebody starting a business. Most businesses don't survive beyond 5 years,
Yep.
and especially that first year is critical to be able to survive and make that money. So talk to us a little bit about the struggles you've gone through or are currently going through as you build your business.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started off, I was still using my sister's old Canon Rebel EOS 5 or whatever it was, some old camera. Took good enough photos. I could do HDR with, or what's it called, bracketed exposure with it. Um, so that was a struggle trying to work with that old camera, and trying to do video was not fun with it. It said it shot 1080p, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a struggle. I was thankfully able to upgrade to, a nicer Sony camera that does a lot better. The main struggle for me was honestly it being, I'm the only one really doing anything like this in my area out of my high school, or anything like that. So trying to figure everything out on my own. I mean, I have my parents, excuse me, I have my parents that help me. But most of the things, I've figured out on myself, on my own. When I started cold calling, I didn't even tell them till I got my first one, because I didn't want, to tell them like, oh, and then nothing come of it. So I was like, look, I just called a realtor and they want me to shoot their property. Like, it was really awesome. But definitely that struggle of just not knowing if I'm going to get any more clients, if any more clients are going to come, if my photos are good. I can, you kind of you can put yourself on a pedestal sometimes, or you can look at yourself, look down on yourself. And I would look at my photos and I'm like, I I think they're good. I just hope other people think that, because I wasn't getting any feedback. I wasn't getting any, oh, they're great. It was just like, okay, thank you. So I wasn't sure until further on. Plenty of people were, I got good reviews and everything like that. And it kind of took a little bit of weight off of my shoulders. Like, okay, my photos are at least good enough. A realtor told me that she's using them for all of her marketing materials because of how good they are. And I was like, okay, okay, I can breathe a little bit. I at least know that I'm putting good things out there.
Yeah, and talk to us
But
about the like, because you talk about the customers that you've gotten and they'll use you again. Like, how have you been able to manage your customer experience so that they are coming back to you?
um I just have this thing of just, being nice, being myself, and focusing on kind of the more relationship side of it, making, when you're there shooting with them, have little conversations with them, get to know them a little bit. I actually go to the same church as someone, and I didn't even know we ran into each other at church, and we were like, "Oh, hey!" I was like, "Oh, that's nice," but that built the connection, and I'd already shot, several properties for her, and that just made the connection even stronger. So I'd like to reach back out, um, always after, a couple weeks or something like that. I like to reach back out and see if they have anything else, if they need anything else done. Anytime on Instagram, if someone follows me, who is a realtor, I send them a 25% off for any package for the first time, just to kind of help break the ice a little bit with them and show them, I'm open to working with you, and I'd love to work together. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
I just try to be on top of it. Just try to, contact everybody.
Yeah, and is the creative space, because I know you mentioned, doing those other types of creative projects as well, like weddings. You talked about the screenplay, those other
Mhm.
things that'll kind of um, help generate revenue, right? As you're
Yeah.
getting your real estate photography business off the ground. Like, did that all start at the same time? Like you just got the camera, now I'm just trying to hustle the creativity, or did you have some experience previously?
So I actually back in middle school, I went to this photography class where I went there for a couple of years and learned kind of the basics of photography. Um, but it wasn't something that I was like super, super into. Like really after the classes ended, I didn't do anything else. I wasn't going out and shooting photos or anything along the lines of that. When I started my YouTube channel, I started a gaming channel, then a vlogging channel, and then that really sparked my creativity. And that's like where I mean, I still have some of the gear from it up on my wall that I used to use back in the days when I would make the YouTube videos. And actually, at my church, there's a skate group that the leader of the skate group, he used to make videos for Zero Skateboards, which is like, a popular skateboarding company. He's awesome. He has a podcast with Sterling Spencer, which is a big name surfer. They're related actually. They're what is it, cousins? So he helped me with that, and he kind of put me on to all this other stuff. And he shot on Sony, and he let me kind of play around with his camera, and I was like, this is awesome. Getting into high school and the end of middle school, I mean, I was just focused on, you know, friends and hanging out, and then, playing football. Uh, and then I felt I felt like I needed to do something creative, but that never kind of popped back into my mind. I didn't think about photography. And it was really that, and just shooting my sister's wedding kind of just like turned the light switch. Or even there, I was like, I should do this for sure. Like this is a lot of fun, and I already know how to do it. And then it all kind of came back to me.
So did you, hey, do you have any previous like jobs that you went to, or is this what you started? This is how you started, just making money, hustling.
Yeah, so I was playing football, and I tried to get a job at Whataburger. And they called me in for an interview and stopped me at the door and said, "You play football, schedule's not going to work." And I was like, "My my friend works here. He plays football with me. Like I ordered from him yesterday, and he plays football with me. What do you mean?" So then they said, "Fix your hours, and maybe we'll call you up again." So I did it again. I went back up there and they're like, no, you still play football. Even if you can work these times, you still play football. So what if they call you in on Saturday? And I was like, okay. So then after that, I was just like, I think I got to do this on my own. I always wanted to do something on my own. I didn't want to, work a job. I mean, going into school, I hated being confined, kind of doing the same thing, going to the same place every single day. I was like, I don't want to be doing that. I got to find my own thing. I got to find something for sure.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to younger kids like you that are maybe interested in, maybe they don't, that lifestyle of a 9 to 5 or something doesn't go through? Is it a path that you would recommend? Has it been good for you, or is it something like, it just depends on the person,
I
I guess?
think, you know, the world now isn't designed for it, but I think more people are going for that now, because social media and everything, we're opened up to a lot more of what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on with big America and everything like that. And people are wanting to stay away from that. So I definitely recommend finding something. There's a lot that you can do. I mean, just besides, I pick up a camera and just take photos and videos, but there are so many things that you can do on your own. I mean, even if you're thinking of working for a company, it's hard work. It's hard work. You can't lollygag around and act like you're going to make it, but you need to stay diligent. And yeah, I definitely recommend doing whatever.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I would probably say, I think it's important to definitely find something that you're passionate about or that you have interest in, right?
Hmm.
Me personally, it wasn't necessarily that I've always had a passion for photography. I'm more of like tech guy. I always liked websites. And the further I've got into this business, man, I'm still passionate about it today because there is a creative side to it and I really enjoy it. But a lot of even the
Hmm.
creative side of things is very technical. There's so many variables you can mess with, like even
Oh yeah.
the photo variables, exposure, and I just find it
Hmm.
fascinating. So you don't, it's like find like what you like, and it doesn't like, because when I first started schooling, I was doing like programming and computers and stuff like that, and then I loved business, and then I think it's just important. I would just say it's important to find something that you are interested, because you don't want to get 5 years into something. You're like, oh my gosh, I hate my life. Maybe you're making a
Yeah.
great paycheck and maybe you kind of cornered yourself. But if you can kind of start off a path of something that you really enjoy doing to some
Hmm.
degree, I think that's important. And I think you talked a little bit about, happiness and being happy in life. And I think that will help, uh, you know, with creating a life that, is well worth lived, I guess you would say. But
Definitely, definitely. I think the goal in life is definitely harmony. There's so much that goes on that you need to find yourself something that you can definitely more than tolerate, because it's a big part of life. And if you're not making money work for you, as you hear, then life cannot be fun. And I've seen that, I mean, firsthand from the people around me. But yeah, find something, guys, because it's awesome.
yeah, so I'm interested in your story. I'm gonna follow you and see where you take your business. But I would really wanted to have you on. That's why I hit you up. I'm like, I saw your video. I think you made a drone video,
Hmm.
and I was like, man, these kids, I found it inspirational. Somebody out there actually, you know, being as young as you are out there hustling as a real estate photography entrepreneur. I thought it was is very awesome. So I really appreciate you taking the time. How if people are interested in finding out more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I have my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/, it's like at JD Camera Productions. You can find me there. I have Instagram, JD Productions, period underscore. And you can find me. You can find me there, and I do a load of other stuff. But it's all linked there. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be sure to tag you below in this interview. But I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, Joshua, and joining me on this interview. And we'll see you guys on the next one.